Welcome everyone, Costin here with some mission tips in Age of Mythology Retold on the Titan difficulty. Going to start with Reginleif's rally over here, because this one can be a bit tricky, but it can also be very, very easy if you understand how the map works and some of the things you can use. Gonna skip through the cinematic over there and just get down to business. You do start with the base in Age 1, with a bunch of villagers, a bunch of wood, a bunch of gold. Not necessarily that much food, but that's fine.
Our resources are few, but Freyr watches over us. Our researches take longer, but cost less.
Okay, so one of the things we want to do is we get Reginleif in Group 1, put a Valkyrie in Group 2, put all of our villagers to work on food. And by food, I do mean... having them work on hunting animals, because hunting animals will give you more food.
The woods grow thick here.
And
we
get
can easily block
the relic over,
our village with
over
walls
here.
And towers.
The game tells you, oh yeah, put some towers over there. Ignore what the game is trying to tell you, because it's not really gonna work. Take one of the dwarves, just one of the dwarves, nothing more, and send a mist. Send one of your Valkyries right here. And this is where full stack's base is, but you can skip past it. And to get some benefits. Alright, just get more workers. You will be attacked, but you can make a lot of things work.
The giants destroyed our homes! Help us, Reginleif!
Alright, there is a heresier.
Go! Minions! Destroy that last village!
Now, what you want to do here
gets stronger each
is get to Uller in
Invoke it
H2
to repel
and
the
start
enemy
getting
if our
upgrades.
defenses are
Since
overrun.
Freyr's upgrades are slower...
A whole cave with gold for the taking!
Yeah, you might say that. You would be wrong. Now, the way you want to build walls is kind of the way I am doing here. There's more relics to be picked up. There is one over here. Reginleif's ability in combat is that she is really, really good at healing in combat. This is one of the principal benefits that she does have. Build another wall over there to block the enemy path. But leave an opening. That's the important bit here. That's the really important part over there. Make sure you do leave an opening, because if you don't leave an opening, they will attack the walls. But you kind of want to leave some paths open. So that's Gargarensis' first attack wave. Nothing too special. Get that dwarf to keep working over there. And just start making a bunch of... Yep.
Ulir lends us the bastions of Asgard and raises fallen warriors to defend us once more.
Alright, get the dock, because we are not going... You could try and send your units by foot, but it's a risk, and that's a lot of villagers to just waste over there, so just do it the hard way. Now, there is some food we can gather over here to the west. Send Reginleif over here as well. I'd recommend building a siege tower. And just keep getting upgrades. As I said, more relics are available over here. Alright, once we get enough wood, or at least one more relic, and start getting that fortress of Asgard. And to hell with the attacks. So we're already on our way to greyness. Just need a bit of wood to get our village, to get these guys out of here. I think I'm going to get rid of that house because I put that fortress not necessarily in the best possible spot. And yeah, just get more workers on wood. Just want to get that particular transport. So we got plenty of food, plenty of resources. You can speed up the construction here, by the way. Alright, just cancel that one actually.
Something.
We just want that transport. We'll get them on the transport, evacuate all of them, and we will be in a great position. The relic here reduces myth unit favor cost by 20%.
Something.
That is pretty damn powerful. Don't keep your cattle next to the town center.
Skipan? Sa.
Tilbúin?
Ja. Veiðimaður.
And now you can start, you know, getting various buildings, an armory. But we can make this even easier than it already is. Bad. Get an armory, make sure it's blocking the path. Or rather not so, like this. Rather like this.
Tilbuin.
Bad, just be mindful that if you block the enemy completely, they will destroy your walls, and you don't want them to do that. So upgrade the wall HP, so they resist some of the damage that enemy is gonna do. Get those various upgrades, get the units with the relic out, and send them back to your base. And get various upgrades too.
Hver það? Something. Ég vil.
We can also start farming over there. And maybe make that wall a bit longer, as long as we have some capability over here of reaching back. Just be aware that the AI does love attacking our workers. That's actually a very important tip for a lot of these missions. Just be aware what the AI is going to do with respect to that. You do also want a longhouse. But now, we go dragon hunting. Oh yes. There's a bear there, we can use that. Better get that Valkyrie and get the... Alright, get the two dwarves over there working on gold. You do have a second gold mine. Make sure you get the market, because you may have like a lot of... you know, you may have a lot of gold in this situation. Not so much of anything else. And now we just want these dragons to pursue us. This is actually quite useful. Like, already at this point, I'm in a strong enough position that, you know, the rest of the mission is kind of trivial. Because any enemy attack is going to come straight at me, and they're not going to be able to break through. More or less. And because we are getting constant upgrades, it's just a question of like, can you surpass Gargarensis?
The corpses of unburied villagers have returned to
Now
haunt
just
their
keep
ruined
moving,
homes.
but not fast, not too
fight these
fast,
Draugr
but not too
now.
slow either. And what you want to do here is just troll the shit out of Gargarensis. No joke. You might sacrifice Reginleif for this one, but really, while she's useful in combat, what these guys are going to do is going to be freaking amusing. So yeah, all of Gargarensis' attack paths, all of his attacks, they come through here.
What is this? Freya's village rabble dare threaten my walls.
And now those little drakes will intercept every single one of Gargarensis' attacks. For a while, at least. It won't work forever, but it will work for enough time that, well, it's gonna give you the time you need to get this going. So you can go to various other ages. Also, Ulr's Fortress over there allows you to go into age 4.
Tilbúin. Skipan. Satt. Ég
So
vil
just
já.
build an ox cart.
Já. Ég vil.
So now, build a bunch of barracks, build a bunch of longhouses, and it's an easy life.
Tilbúin, ég vil. Timbursveit. Skipan.
Giants of Jotunheim, rejoin me!
And yes, the giants of
Freya's
Jotunheim.
followers!
Friend One
But
Eye
now
is
at this
right.
point I can get
Come,
farms.
my brothers.
And my base is fully secure. We get attacked by full stack, but at this point, yeah, the mission is effectively won.
Is on the way.
Okay, so for
Defend the harbor
this
until they arrive.
one mission,
Our
what I
Kantos
recommend
is a
is you
hero,
start getting
and very effective at
toxicities
killing
as
myth
quickly as
units,
possible.
such as the
Assign
Kraken.
many of your villagers that are currently working on food to work on wood and on gold. Just get a bunch of toxicities, get upgrades once they become available. So armory upgrades when it becomes available, medium infantry when it becomes available, but a massive toxicities will work. Just keep training, toxicities, hoplites, however many you can afford, and just survive the waves. You do need to clear each wave, I think, before the next one comes up, but
Well
it is a
done,
fairly
but we should prepare
easy
ourselves
mission
for more
to understand
attacks.
and to deal with over here. But yeah, just prioritize gold and wood, especially gold. Maybe I have too many wood gatherers right here,
Remember, additional toxote
so
can be
this would
trained at
make
the
more
archery
sense.
range.
2 guys on
These excel
gold,
against enemy infantry.
try not to use the hoplites in combat, because you want to just keep them for any kind of difficult wave. And that's it. Use the god powers when they become available, and just survive. That is it. For consequences, you have a base that gives you all of the resources that you need. You have wood, you have food, you have gold, and you have the lure ability of Poseidon that can give you even more food. Well off the northern part of the base, don't make sure you leave a gate, so if you are getting attacked by enemies, make sure it's close enough to the town center that the town center could deal with everything, build a bunch of toxicities, get some hoplites, and age up into the classical age as Ares, because you will gain Cyclops. And really, mission is fairly simple. You just need to get a critical mass of Cyclops, toxicities, and maybe some hoplites, and Hypaspis, which you can get through Ares. Get those guys. There is some wood and gold on the northern side, so send one of your initial ships to scout over there along the shoreline. You'll find a wreck that will give you some wood and some gold, which can help get you going in the initial portion of the mission. And assign villagers to work on every resource, get those Cyclops, rush the enemy town center, and you will win this mission. Fairly simple. It's a very basic mission. Scratching the surface is another easy mission, and probably the last easy mission out of the build ones in the campaign. In this one, you are, again, worshipping Poseidon, so you can, of course, go for Cyclops. In point of fact, you could probably win this entire mission by just going into H2, building a bunch of Cyclops, and with the power of your heroes, winning the mission. I decided to do things a bit differently. I go all the way to H3. I worship Dionysus, and I get the single most powerful unit that is available in the Greek portion of the campaign, the Hydra. Hydras are ridiculously powerful. The reason they're so powerful is they get heads now for doing damage as opposed to killing units, and they also have an upgrade that is available from the temple that gives them regenerating HP. So really, this mission is fairly simple. Build up a base, your gold mine has been moved closer to your tree line, and behind said tree line as opposed to being in an exposed position, so you're in a fairly safe location, along with all the resources that you need. And since you have Poseidon, you have the lore, which will, of course, give you the animals that you need in order to maintain food. So just build up a base, and I would possibly recommend, if you're looking to clear the map, to build up to population cap. There is a town center to the east of your location. There's various relics on the map, so use Arcantus to scout, and use Ajax to basically kill anything that might attack you. Build up a force to full population cap, and then destroy one of the docks. Agamemnon will land, and together with his army, you can genuinely destroy Troy's main base. Not really that difficult. Or you could go with a naval assault over here, build up an entire navy and destroy the docks using that. But keep in mind that the Trojans will build their own navy if you do so. Be aware of that. A fine plan is when things start going hectic. You start with an entire army of cavalry in Age 2, and you are tasked with destroying the Gate of Troy. You do start with a bunch of wood and food, but no gold. Recommendation: go with your initial cavalry, destroy Troy's gold mines. There's free storehouses that you can go after, and these will give you the initial gold that you need in this particular mission to get started. And then you can use those gold mines. You will be attacked from multiple directions by Troy itself, and you'll also be attacked via the sea. So you want to start getting a couple of towers, 2, 3, 4 towers, fully upgraded eventually, though not necessarily rushing for that. But getting some towers to deal with the naval attacks, getting upgrades, and there are some gold mines on an island to the east. Just be aware of the naval attacks potentially hitting your villagers there, but if you move them deeper and land on the island, they will be fine. Eventually, you just build up to Age 4 with all the resources. You may even want to wall off some of the gold mines you have from where Troy is going to attack you. This sounds simple, but Troy is going to send a bunch of cavalry and a bunch of hoplites, so actually using cavalry in this mission is not recommended. Instead, you want to go for your own infantry, you want to go for myth units, and you probably want to go for colossi as well. But yeah, just as long as you set yourself up properly and you set up that early game, it's fairly simple enough. And you may want to harass Troy's caravans, because I'm not sure how much this has an impact on Troy's unit production. I think they have infinite resources, but it may slow them down at the very least with respect to them building units. In terms of building walls, be aware that the AI will attack your walls, though the AI will also prioritize killing your villagers. So that's the reason you want to build walls around gold mines in order to protect the villagers mining gold. If you can set up proper gold production, you will be fine for this one. Just Enough Rope is probably the single most difficult mission of the Greek missions, at least until you get to the very end of the game. You do at the very least start with the ability of getting Hydras, and you're also worshipping Zeus in this particular mission, so you do have access to his bolt, and you do also get Athena. I recommend avoiding getting Minotaurs, though the one critical aspect here in this mission is gaining food. You do start with a lot of pigs, but you will benefit quite a bit more if you don't use those pigs initially and instead set up farms. So task a lot of your initial villagers on wood and gold, start training more, get to market, you do have one, and getting whatever food you need. It's all about surviving those initial attacks, setting up a lot of farms as I'm doing over here, getting a lot of Hydras to deal with enemy attacks, building walls to make it so that the AI is lured towards attacking you from the northern side, not the east or the west. There are some gold mines over there. This mission is supposed to force you to use caravans, but there's enough gold on this mission to handle that. The enemy will throw colossi against you, but your Hydras are actually quite stronger than they are. I mean, the colossi are very strong units, but Hydras end up actually doing significantly more damage. One thing to be aware of in this mission is that you will be attacked by a lot of cavalry, a lot of hoplites, colossi, siege, and archers. Firm recommendation: combination of Hydras, your own archers, your own infantry is what's going to make it work. And once you get to Age 4, go for Hephaestus and get a bunch of Myrmidons and fortresses. Though this is easier said than done, and it's like just surviving those initial attacks. There will be a lot of enemies coming your way. And when you do attack the enemy base, you could sneak around it from the western side. There is a fence there, and you could go for their unit production. But regardless of how you decide to approach, either a direct frontal assault or a sneak attack, be aware that there's so many enemy units in the base that you might be required to send a full population army against them. You will likely lose it, and then send another one. Very important thing with Dionysus: his bronze power also works on myth units. Keep your Hydras alive, keep them going, keep using them, protect your gold workers, and if you need to set up caravans, set up caravans. Although you could just save up enough favor to just use Vaults of Plenty of Hephaestus. Like, if there's anything that has to be said about these Greek missions is that, yeah, you kind of want to go for Hephaestus every single time. Don't necessarily rush armory upgrades, because you can get a significant cost reduction with them if you do save up, if you do get to Hephaestus and you do end up getting his special upgrade that reduces the cost of them by a fairly significant amount. And yeah, make sure to protect your your gold workers, especially because otherwise you're going to have to build a lot of caravans to make this work. I Hope This Works is a fairly simple mission, though one that can go pretty badly very quickly. You do get attacked by Trojan scouting parties that in this particular version are made of Hypaeus, so they're very easy to kill, especially because you do start with the Hydra and you do have Ajax, Agamemnon, Odysseus on your side in this one. And you can also get more heroes. You can just rush for wood production and ignore everything else, and your initial army can deal with the Trojan scouting parties. Just make sure none of them escape. Or you can do what I've done, which is to focus on getting all of the upgrades in this mission, because they might be useful in the second part of the mission. The second part of the mission is where things might get a bit tricky. Because in that second part of the mission, Troy gets a significant number of units that they will throw against you. And these are fully upgraded units as well. I was surprised by the level of challenge that was actually here, but I'm glad for it. Now, the one small problem that may happen here is that your meteors may not actually destroy Troy's fortresses, but you have enough siege, and even if you lose your entire army, as long as you can keep your heroes alive and some of your siege alive, it will be fine. I don't think the enemy just gets an infinite number of units. I think there is a fine limit of them, but there is just quite a lot of them available over here. Use your guard powers, your healing, your bronze, and so on and so forth. I don't know if upgrades carry over from the first part. I would assume so. So that's one of the reasons I would recommend spending more time in that initial part if you want to have an easier time over here. More Bandits is something of a joke of a mission. You get a lot of centaurs for free, you can train more, you can get upgrades. I recommend getting upgrades. The resources you have in this mission, at least initially, are limited, though there are various storehouses and a shrine that can give you various resources, including favor. So you do have limited units, but the enemy is also not really going to train units on their own either. You can rush for each section of the city because the pressure here is that the enemy will destroy certain key buildings, or you could take it slowly and more safely if you decide to do so. Recommend focusing a bit. You can actually use ceasefire in this mission to take advantage of like the enemy positioning and get your units into a location where they're needed. I'd recommend protecting things like the armory and things like the fortress and the market. Like those are things that are important. Otherwise, yeah, you can make this work very easily with a bunch of hydras and just demolishing your enemy with bronze god power. Or another thing you can do over here, there is an achievement to just finish this mission with centaurs. If you're aiming to do so, then what is important is you keep your initial siege engine alive, because you are going to be dealing with an enemy stronghold. Try and keep some of those militia alive as well, but centaurs are quite capable of killing every enemy unit. They're just not good at dealing with fortifications, so that can be a bit of a problem. But if you can get to the enemy fortress with that siege tower that you do have from one of the prison camps, then you can absolutely destroy the Migdal stronghold as long as you deal with the enemy army. Bad news is the final mission that is available in the Greek portion of the campaign that at least involves base building. You have two bases, one on the right side of the map which has a lot of wood and also starts with the temple. So you're pretty much incentivized to get all of your temple workers on that side. But on the left side you have gold and food. So realistically you don't really need anything on the right side. You could afford to lose that base and just do all of your unit construction and building construction on the left side of the map with Ajax, which has the benefit of giving you Ajax. I choose to go with Hydras again this time around, and of course Hephaestus as well, because if there's a commonality in a lot of these Greek missions, is going Hephaestus is really the smart thing to do in a lot of these missions. For a multiplayer it is a very different situation, but for the sake of the campaign, those Vaults of Plenty that you can recast are really, really powerful. Now, you do actually have to deal with enemy heroes in this mission, so unfortunately the Hydras are not necessarily the powerhouse that they are in a lot of the other missions that are available here. But it doesn't matter, really. By this point, considering the defenses that Troy had and the things that you had to overcome, is pretty much a cakewalk, really. Just build a massive force with Ajax, get your heroes. Bellerophon in particular is really powerful. Make sure you get bronze, the bronze god power to buff up your myth units to keep them alive against enemy heroes, and advance with siege infantry, archers, colossi, and hydras. There's plenty of gold mines that Ajax does have, even if some of them do require you to clear the initial forward base of the enemy. There's some locations where the game is like, hey, you know, Arcantus could really help with that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like, it would not be a wise thing to try and build up on both sides. So you do want to build some units for Arcantus. He will need a bit of help. But really, Arcantus and Chiron are capable enough of dealing with the enemy forces, with most of the enemy forces that are coming their way, to the point that you can focus almost exclusively your entire unit recruitment on Ajax's side to help you survive the enemy attacks and, of course, to push forward. Be aware that once you push forward enough, they will hit your base with an aerial attack, Ajax's base specifically, so be aware of that particular aspect. I mean, you do want to keep Arcantus's base alive, ideally, right? Having wood gatherers is useful because you can then sell that wood for gold if you need it, as opposed to just relying on the gold mines that Ajax initially has and then whatever vaults of plenty you can get. But yeah, clear your way to the north, destroy the fortresses, and we will get to meet Gargarensis. Revelation is a no-build mission, and I could have stopped just there. You do get a bunch of infantry, cavalry, and crucially centaurs. There's also some Medusa and a Nemean lion on this map, and your objective is to destroy the enemy ram. Of course, Gargarensis is going to get a significant number of units, myth units, and even regular infantry. You want to basically preserve the units that you're getting through the Underworld passage as much as possible. Keep the infantry and cavalry focused on destroying the ram, using your centaurs, Medusa, and Nemean lion and your heroes, of course, to deal with any enemy reinforcements. You can either use your god powers very aggressively, like using the lightning storm to clear the ram location, and then relying on the power of your army to deal with any enemy reinforcements, or you can use them defensively. Just keep in mind, lightning storm does take a while to build up its power, so just be aware of that. The most annoying enemy unit are the chimeras, because they leave a pool of fire on the ground that will kill a lot of units. The ram is easy enough to destroy if you do preserve a lot of your cavalry and infantry. That's not really the problem, but it's getting to that point. There are some rocks over here, some boulders that you do want to destroy to block 2 of the 3 paths that the enemy is going to use to send reinforcements. Well, 2 out of the 4, really, because there's some enemy units spawning just south of the ram, which can be a bit annoying to deal with. But yeah, this is a fast, easy mission. You have about 15 minutes in total to deal with it, and there's some phoenixes that will come and try and attack your reinforcements as they're approaching you, but yeah, for the most part, this is not really a difficult one at all. Strangers is the last of the original Greek missions in the campaign, and it isn't particularly great as a mission. See, you have a bunch of enemy myth units to deal with in this one, which have special attacks that can devastate all of the troops that you can get in this mission. You have shades that can instant kill myth units, but you want to keep at least one of them alive to get extra vision, because the vision of the rest of your units is limited. You can use the centaurs that you do get throughout this mission, since they added various units that are trapped behind rock walls that you can free. Just don't use your human soldiers unless you want a lot of them to get killed. And even with the centaurs, given the enemy has a Medusa and mummies, you may want to be careful on how you're using them. You can use them to a certain extent to speed up, but yeah, this mission is not a challenge. Your heroes can basically free-man this mission. Just make sure you don't forget any of the relics when you're going on the C section. Don't leave any of them behind, because you may live to actually regret that particular decision, as I actually ended up doing in this one. Hooray for me. The only vulnerability is you could potentially forget the relic behind and your ships get destroyed, or your ships get destroyed before you land on the shore, but yeah, there's not really much to say. And that is the main Greek section of the Age of Mythology campaigns. Some hard missions, some pretty easy missions, and yeah, this one is honestly the worst mission in the game. Like, certainly the most boring mission in the entire game. It's like, well, we gotta have an Underworld section, right? In an Age of Mythology game, or in an Odyssey type story. I wish they hadn't bothered, really. Or if they had bothered with Retold, I wish they had made this mission better than the original, because yeah, it wasn't great in the original either.